Hi, it's Sarah Gonzales here. So your ads are about to go live, and I know you and your account manager have been talking about this, but I want to talk to you a little bit about 5 things you are going to hate about running ads. Now, bear in mind, we've managed over $10 million in ad spend for our clients, and we've seen a lot of things that people find very stressful and frustrating about running ads. We know that every penny you spend is precious, and that's why I want to take the time to talk to you about the things intrinsic to ad platforms that are going to frustrate you. And we'll also talk about how we're going to cope ahead to minimize those frustrations for you and also minimize the things that are going to spend your money without producing results. Okay, so let's talk about number 1, the learning phase in Google Pay Per Click. Now, what that means is when your ads first go live, Google needs to learn about which type of leads are best for you. Do you like more install leads? Do you like more repair leads? Which zip codes are going to serve you best? What type of clients you close best? Okay, all of that information from those early clicks is fed back into the algorithm so that it can learn from your data. Okay, and that period usually takes about 2 weeks. So what that means is the moment your ads go live, you will not experience a deluge of leads. In fact, you'll get a lot fewer leads than you will later in the process. Okay, which means that say you're spending $3,000 a month, $100 a day on ads, your cost per lead is going to be a lot higher than it will after a month, 2 months, 3 months. That is perfectly normal. It's also perfectly normal that you're going to find that a little frustrating. You're going to think to yourself, hey, I'm spending money. Google, this $4 trillion company, is taking my money. They're not giving me anything. What they're giving you is the learning experience so that your ads can perform much better later. Now, if you were Nike, if you were a local ice cream shop, any company advertising on Google for pay-per-click is going to have the same experience, big or small. So that's just normal to the system. I know your account manager has already prepared you for that, but we really like to emphasize this so you can see that happening. That doesn't mean we're not going to be talking to you every single day through these early periods so that you understand what's happening. But we want you to be prepared that this is not a slam dunk in the first few weeks. And it's going to be frustrating. It's going to be annoying. The second thing you're kind of going to hate is that not every call or lead is going to be relevant. You will get a few calls from outside your service area. Now, we are scrupulous about making sure that you are only advertising in the zip codes and areas where you want to get customers. But inevitably, even if that's all cooked into the system, you will get leads outside of your service area. Let me just give you an example. For example, you might have someone who works in your town and is on Meta, doing Meta things in your town, looking for restaurants, doing Google Maps. So whether it's Google or Meta, the algorithm thinks that person is very local to you, but they might live 30 miles away, or they might just be visiting their mom in that town and they live 30 miles away. So when they're calling you for services, they're calling you from your house. That's just cooked into the system, and it's not really something that we can fully help you with. We can minimize it over time for sure, but you still will get a few leads. It's nothing to stress about. It just means that that's the nature of the system. Okay. The other is job seekers. You will have people who see your ads, think you're a good company because you are, and then call you looking for a job. And then if that's on Google Pay Per Click, it is pretty annoying because they've clicked on your ad and they've cost you maybe $20, $30 for that click. Now, if they call you through local service ads, the system will hear that call and credit you back that money. So you don't need to worry about that. But if it's a pay-per-click call, then you still pay for that click, and it's annoying. And that person wasn't trying to do you harm. They just didn't understand the system. But you will get that. You'll also get a few calls that are for non-relevant service. Maybe someone intended to call Home Depot, or they were looking for a local hardware store where they were going to buy their own mini split system, and they accidentally called you. That's going to happen, and maybe you can make a sale, probably not, but that's cooked into the system. So no matter how good we are about keyword research, and we're very, very good, your campaigns will have as many as 14,000 negative keywords in them to prevent job seekers from calling you, to prevent people who are looking for a DIY solution from calling you. But it still gets through the cracks because people's intent in their head and the thing that they're searching for sometimes is not quite the same. You'll still get a few of those calls. The final thing is click fraud, or competitors who deliberately click on your ads. Now, this is something that we minimize, both because we are monitoring all the time. And then so if we see people who are very quickly clicking on your landing page and going out, we can exclude those IP addresses so they just never even see your ads, right? So we also make sure that people who are overseas, who might be paid to click on competitors' ads, they're not seeing your ads either. Okay, so we dramatically minimize that, but it is very hard to control for a competitor, for example, who lives a mile from you, who just, once in a great while goes in your ad and clicks and costs you $20. That will happen. And it's annoying and it's disappointing that people don't hold themselves to that higher standard of integrity. But unfortunately, that exists in a very competitive market. Okay. The third thing you're going to hate is that not every click will become a booked job. You will have people call you. They'll ask for an estimate, but they'll go with someone else. Or there might be times that they call you and you don't answer the phone. We're going to help you make sure that doesn't happen very often, but it does happen, particularly when people are a small shop or they're very stretched during a very busy season. Okay, so you will talk to people, and through the sales process, they may go with someone else, or they may decide that your pricing is not what they're looking for. So there's no assurance that every single contact form, every single phone call becomes a booked job. It's a little disappointing, but it's part of the sales process. And then this becomes an opportunity to look and see is your sales process closing at the rate that it should. So for example, if you're only closing 10% of installation estimates that you're getting, we would say to you, really, we want to see you at more 30%. Let's talk about your sales process and let's get that to a level where you can be confident that you're closing more of those leads. Because sometimes it's not about the lead, it's about other things that are happening in the process. Nothing wrong with that because we're always learning and growing as companies, but this is an opportunity to look at those things. But just to manage your expectations, not every call is going to be a slam dunk, okay? And it's frustrating, but it's just part of the process. Okay. The fourth thing you're not going to like is on Meta and Yelp, if you're running ads on those platforms, leads will be less qualified than they are on Google Local Service Ads and Google Pay-Per-Click. You're also spending a lot less money for those leads. So it's a kind of get what you pay for situation. So your cost per book job may be similar. Sometimes, in fact, on Yelp, your cost per book job can actually be lower. But you will get some leads who are deal seekers, who you call them back. This happens on Meta. Like you call people back and they're like, I don't even remember putting together a lead form for you. I don't remember even submitting my information to you. Who the heck are you? That will happen. So you do need to cook into your sales process a really fast response time and a lot of persistence. And we'll be monitoring this to make sure, again, that your results are kind of in line with industry standards so that the issue is not that the leads were bad, but rather the issue might be that there's opportunities for improvement in the sales process. There will be bad leads, don't get me wrong, but there's also often, when you're not booking as many jobs, opportunities to improve the sales process. But even if you have the most dialed in sales process in the world, you will have some bad leads that come through and you won't close all of them. Your close rate on Yelp or Meta, maybe best case 20 or 30%. Finally, on Yelp, you may get some grumpy reviews. You may get from time to time reviews that are not the 5-star reviews we're all used to on Google. Because on Google, we can ask our customers for reviews and that is perfectly acceptable and it's consistent with Google's policy. On Yelp, they don't want you seeking reviews. They want people who organically use the platform to give their honest feedback. So when this is not part of the process for you requesting a review and being frankly selective with the people that you ask a review for, that we're very happy with your service, they are people who are gracious and inclined to say kind things, when that's not cooked into the system, what it does mean is that there's less grade inflation on Yelp and you will get some negative reviews. People tend to be a little less kind and civil on Yelp than they are on Google. And so as a result, your overall rating, you may have a 5-star rating on Google or a 4.9 on Google. You may be really proud of that. On Yelp, you may find that the best case is more like a 4.1 to a 4.4. There'll be a few reviews and we'll help you handle those and deal with them graciously and respond in a factual and neutral and professional way. But we want you to kind of cope ahead for those reviews because they can really hurt when you see those, especially when you take a lot of care to do a really great service. Okay, so to sum up, these are the 5 things you're going to hate. There's going to be a learning phase in your Google Pay-Per-Click. You're going to get some calls that aren't relevant. Not every click is going to become a booked job. On Yelp and Meta, you are going to get some leads that are not as great and you're going to have to do a little more hunting to close those leads. And finally, you are going to get a review or 2 on Yelp that is not what you wish it was. Okay. All those things are cooked into the system and every single company that has gotten to 2 million, 5 million, 10 million, 50 million has gone through this process and experiences this pain all the time. right? But what we've found is that it can be a real tax on a business owner, particularly if you're doing ads for the first time, to feel this kind of like stress of, oh my gosh, I'm spending this money. Is this really paying off? Yes, it's paying off. We are really, really good at running ads, and we will let you know if we actually have legitimate concerns about your ad performance. We will be honest with you about that. But having these issues in the system does not mean that something's going wrong. And we'll continue to communicate with that with you. But we find, for the sake of your mental health and the sake of your confidence in this process in digital marketing, we want to make sure that you really understand up front. What I always tell people is that the people who are most successful running ads, think of it like a high stakes poker game. In other words, they're playing with a cool head. They are not getting upset when they lose a hand because they know they will lose a hand. They're looking at it for the long game, right? They're saying, how am I doing over 20 hands, over 40 hands, over 60 hands? Because you will have situations where 3 calls in a row don't materialize in anything. But guess what? Maybe that 4th call is a $20,000 install. Right? And so you will have things that don't work out. You'll have leads that aren't as great as you'd like them to be. And then you'll also have home runs, right? So we want to be playing the averages, and we want you to be thinking in terms of the averages as well. How am I doing overall? What is my overall cost per lead? How many leads am I getting per month? What is my return on ad spend? So we're going to look at this from the level of data and help you make decisions in that way. Again, your account manager is going to be in touch with you all the time about this. And we are going to hold meetings with you once a week to review your ads. And we really hope that you will attend those meetings, even if it only is 15 minutes that you can give us. That's enough, but that will give you the peace of mind to know that your ads are working. And it will also inform our decision making so that we're creating the very best campaigns for you. Thank you so much for choosing RS Gonzales. We're so honored to be working with you, and you can expect to continue to get this level of communication and this level of education from us so that you can feel confident about what we're doing and that we are really committed to being your partner in growth.